Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Phil Andrews. We warmly welcome representatives from Defence Force Nursing who are joining us today. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by students from Summer Primary School Victoria and visitors to the memorial. Australia's Federation Guard is a tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catapult party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Catapult party, attention! Catapult party, present arms!
If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and in operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Henry Stout. Henry Stout, known as Harry, was born in August 1886, the eldest son of William Stout of Goldsborough, Victoria. Little is known of his early life other than that he was educated at the Burke's Flats School. His parents both died, probably during Harry's late teens or early adulthood, and his only living relative in Australia was an uncle in Melbourne. At some point in his early life, Harry became interested in politics, in particular the issues around conscription and compulsory military service. In 1912, the Australian Freedom League was formed out of an earlier organisation called the Anti-Military Services League. Stout must have had ties to the former organisation because when the Australian Freedom League was formed in Adelaide, he moved there from Victoria to become the secretary and general organiser of the League. He was described as an effective platform speaker and a writer of considerable ability, a good friend, a genial companion. While firmly opposed to the compulsory clauses in Australia's Defence Act, Harry did believe in voluntary service. He was not the only member of the Australian Freedom League to volunteer when war broke out in August 1914. Harry Stout enlisted in September at Morfettville in Adelaide. He underwent a period of training in Australia, but instead of going into infantry, he joined the 4th Field Ambulance, leaving for active service overseas in late 1914. Private Harry Stout was sent to Egypt on board the troopship Berrima. On board, he became mates with Alfred Dowling and Reginald Hicks, both of whom were promoted to Lance Corporal after arriving in Egypt. Stout was a popular member of his unit, with another member of the 4th Field Ambulance, Private Hilda, later saying that he was a splendid fellow and is often quoted among us. The 4th Field Ambulance landed in Gallipoli on the 28th of April 1915, 3 days after the Dawn landing. Harry Stout and his mates Hicks and Dowling were together in B section, which was immediately sent to work looking for wounded. The three would remain on the peninsula over the coming months, carrying out the extremely dangerous task of stretcher bearers, recovering the wounded, often under heavy sniper fire, and carrying them down to the beach for evacuation. On the 21st of August 1915, Harry Stout and Alf Dowling were ordered forward to look after the wounded. They worked on the first aid station and had just finished when they came under shrapnel fire. Dowling wrote, "Harry just moved as one broke close to us. One of the bullets entered his head and lodged just above his eye. He never spoke and only lived for about 10 minutes. He was promoted to the rank of Lance Corporal a few days before his death." Alf Dowling described burying his mate in a pretty little spot on the edge of a cornfield, ensuring that Harry was clearly identified on a small cross. The exact location of this grave was later lost. Harry Stout's uncle and aunt in Melbourne put a notice in the Melbourne newspapers later in 1915 to the memory of their nephew, writing, "A noble hero, true and brave, peacefully sleeps in a soldier's grave. Great in our sorrow, but God knows best. He has taken our loved one home to rest." But Harry Stout's death had an even greater impact on Alf Dowling, who continued to put a memorial notice in the South Australian newspapers every year through the war. In 1916, his notice inserted, with Reg Hicks read, "We laid our comrade in the grave. With heavy steps we trod. His body rests in foreign soil, his soul at home with God." The exact location of Harry Stout's grave was later lost, and today he is commemorated on a special memorial in the 7th Field Ambulance Cemetery on the Gallipoli Peninsula. He was 29 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Henry Stout, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Catapult party, shoulder up.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Catapult party, present up.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.